Good evening, everybody. System Chalk here with the 49th episode of our first run through House of Light on YouTube, playing as the archaeologist. So I will say for yesterday's episode, I was debating on calling it the Unsubtle Tongue, but I feel like Chak gets MVP for yesterday for allowing us to make the Mazarine Fife. So while we are waiting for that to happen, we're going to send out the invitations. We'll get those timers running. We're making a little bit of money in the Sweet Bones, but the focus will be to restore the Faust as quickly as I can. There's going to be a little bit of a balance in terms of trying to make sure that I keep the guests happy and sort of keep the salon going, like reasonably on time. But I did want to prioritize the creation of the fife. I suppose I could have done that like at the end of the day too, but I don't know. I made my choice. Okay, the manner in which the alchemist was spared. So quite a high-level forge text with in VAC, but not that expensive. So we will employ the silver spintria, even though we can't read it yet. Or actually, yeah, we don't have VAC. The purple on Fusine always throws me off for some reason. The postmistress examines the letter and deems it sufficient. It'll go with the next post, she assures me. Alright, so next up we are going to send along the invitation to Mr. Strathcoin. Stamp, envelope, send. We are also ready to send one off to Father Schaller. I'm trying to remember if we had, I think, Zathemalim was... Oh, yes, no. We had the... it was the big royal project is the event that we just finished. So I wanted to wait until we heard from Hokebald to make a decision on that one. Alright, so we've sent the invitations out. Just a reminder here, I have the Christmas tree because I'm of course recording this before the end of December, but I will be taking this off. Obviously, it's too late now to warn you in terms of these, but I will be taking the items off of this for this playthrough to move it on. I mean, I suppose I'm one of these elite House of Light players who doesn't need the good Christmas cheer that Weather Factory have given us, but just so I can give you an idea of how the pros play. I like... I mean, I don't think... Most of these are not, like, game changers. So the Moli's quite nice. The Moli, okay, actually, so the one thing that I tend to find, the Kronsicord and the Flushed Mommet actually are really good gifts because they're the sort of thing you don't feel too bad using to open up a room. I'm still probably going to wind up hoarding because that is just my nature, but I sort of feel that when they're given as gifts, you don't cling on to them as much as before. I am just so sad that I can't put this ham on this shelf. What? How does that work? Alright, I won't question it. But yeah, so we'll keep the Sweet Bones open so that the Faust can be renewed. Again, we're going to be waiting a while before that can happen, but Corso is here. Fraser Strathcoin is here. Stanislav John Schaller's here. Daymare is here. And Wakefield's arrived. So we specifically invite Corso and Wakefield because they've already had sort of an encounter where it says that there's further events. So I'm interested in keeping with that. With Keeper Level Sky, a Mazarine Fife is an essential tool to conjure a wind in waiting. Oh. Apparently the Hungry Cockatoo does not have a title. I should make a note of that. And there it is, Mazarine Fife, whittled according to Kitty Mazarine's patient, eccentric instructions. So I usually wind up putting it here. I don't know if this was specifically intended for the fife, but it feels appropriate to keep it in this room. But as you can see here, it's 3 sky, it counts as a tool, and it counts as an instrument. Music waits here. So very, very powerful for being able to generate some of the high-level memories without a whole lot of effort. No. Rest and refreshment. Tuppence will buy me a hearty meal and a quiet place where I can rest and gather my thoughts. It is winter and the storms have tightened the seas. I am sitting before the sweet bones with a beef and potato pasty in one hand and a hot ale posset in the other. So we're still mourning, which is nice. Or I was going to say still in mourning, but that probably doesn't make it any clearer. But yeah, essentially midday is where I would ideally start the salon, but we will start it in 38 seconds once the Faust is available, just in case it's needed. The usual routine for the Tree of Wisdoms has been, if I have the option, I would like to I'd like to enter something into the level above on the Tree of Wisdoms, assuming that it allows me to get another event. It's a long shot, especially because I haven't moved the persistent skills. So all of the persistent skills should actually be moving up to 3s now because we've already committed 2. But that would require me to sort of read the different books. And of course, I've enabled some more options there as far as the books are concerned by getting the fife. I actually can read more books even without having the elements of the soul. But let's. I should really focus on the task at hand right now. Okay. Rest and refreshment. Tuppence will buy me a hearty meal and a quiet place where I can rest and gather my thoughts. Time for the salon. So, our guests. Signor Corso Reverte, manuscript hunter, legacy scavenger, mercenary. Many would question his ethics, few would deny his acuteness. Mr. Fraser Strathcoyne, philanthropist, collector, former librarian, a complicated man, but not a cruel one. Father Stanislav John Schaller, priest, diplomat, gardener, a soft-voiced man with a very steady gaze. Damer, Grafin Frederike Dagmar Sophia Teresa Helena Begina von Nagelsberg, if you prefer. She doesn't. And Mr. Zachary Wakefield, marksman, detective, renegade. He has always been a quiet man, but since he left the Suppression Bureau, he has grown even quieter and terribly still, except for his fingers and for his eyes, always in restless motion. They will be enjoying poached mackerel. We do not poach fish in Brandkrug without recalling the turbot crisis of 1786, when Dr. Westcott caught a prodigious turbot and required the kitchen to poach it for him without division. But no vessel of sufficient size could be found to poach it entire. At last they resorted to alchemical assistance. Mackerel, fortunately, requires no alchemy for its poaching. Pickled pilchards, an acquired and unforgettable taste. Roast potatoes. You really need rosemary for roast potatoes, but fortunately the kitchen gardens at Hush House has never been short on rosemary. Plum croutons. One should never make this with plums that are not ripe enough to eat. One is quite serious. And game pie. Pheasant or snipe or woodcock or rabbit, and tasty pastry. They will be drinking Isle water from Brandkrug's Deep Springs, the TRN Limited Drinking Cocoa. TRN Spices and Savors Department marks this as the secret sacrament of the last Inca. Cater and Hero Second Flush Assam, tea from the land of the real unicorn, imported by Cater and Hero. And Strathcoyne whiskey. The collector has collected a distillery, it seems. And we'll be enjoying this in the refectory. Here, the whole curia used to meet, the librarian and the secretary solvent, vigilant, and enigmatic, sometimes even the secretary nunciant, though the duties of that office usually kept him away from the house. But there has only ever been one secretary persistent, and she has never liked to eat in company. That was in the good times of the curia's heyday. In later years, the governor of the jail would sit at one end and the librarian at the other, and the clock would tick away the long silences between their words. Alright, so Corso and Wakefield get to sit beside each other. My guests take their places for lunch. I always like where I can to try and fill up the screen with the salon. A formal meal, lunch and supper, last longer than less formal salons, allowing an extra interaction between your guests. Say something witty. Add a shapt card. Dagmar describes matter-of-factly to Stanislav some of those routes through the bounds which are available only to one who sheds her own blood. She even shows him the scars. Lesson surgeries and exsanguinations. Oriflams thanks you for your custom, so we'll excuse ourselves very briefly to shelve one of the books. Conversation ebbs and flows. Say something witty. Alright, so that's all of our shapt. I will need to put something, it's either Nyctodromy, which I don't think we will have available, but I may be able to put something in Skolakosophy if we need another one. Corso and Dagmar are enjoying an entirely theoretical... Sorry, let me try and read that again. Corso and Dagmar are enjoying an entirely theoretical discussion of how locks might be subverted through vulgar Nyctodromy, and whether Teresa Galmier was a Nyctodromist, Dagmar, or a Horomachist, Corso. That's a fun one. For those of you who have an opinion on the status of that Galmier lady, feel free to leave it in the comments. Conversation ebbs and flows. Invite a challenge. Add a metal card. So definitely doing well in terms of the elements of the soul. I don't know if this is... we've definitely, with this lineup, worked quite well. So we might have stumbled on something... I mean, it's a nice stumble, right? Because Corso and Zachary seem to get along quite well. But it really does seem to be working with the limited elements of the soul that I have. Dagmar is trying to explain the more risque jokes in Savage's A Seventh Voice to Zachary. Zachary is courteously taking notes. Inject a little gaiety. Add a core card. So if there's a second core card, it makes me wonder if these challenges are randomly chosen. Stanislav and Zachary discuss the merciful measures of the witch Nin. Zachary agrees that her techniques are potent against devourers, but he has become unwilling to use them since he began to fear that he himself might qualify as a devourer. Say something witty, add a shapt card. So I'm not too hopeful about this, but we'll see what we can do. So I would want something with Skolakosophy. Pentiments and Precursors is an option, as is Rhyme and Remembrance. So I did jot down a few notes. I may actually also consult a spreadsheet. So I made a spreadsheet with some ones that I... Like, basically, when I do the broadcast, I try and have a firm idea, or I try to just run with what I can. But when I have a firm idea, I try to add it to the spreadsheet. I really should just sit down and work it all out, but that doesn't feel as cool to have everything sort of locked into place. But I did put Pentiments and Precursors. I'm actually a little surprised that I don't have Rhyme and Remembrance here. Which suggests that I might have another purpose for it. So realistically, I think Ragged Crossroads is too high. Serpents and Venoms doesn't have the right level. And I don't think I have solutions in separation, so I wonder why that's on this list. Oh, that's probably after the stream. Okay, so let's see if pentaments and precursors can get me a shaft. No, it gets me an Arab. All right. So that says to me, we accept the loss on that says to me that we accept the loss in terms of the Skolakosophy, but so Rhyme and Remembrance. So what would my alternative for Rhyme and Remembrance be? Oh, I do actually see why I'd maybe want to put that in Birdsong. Because that gives me... yes, I seem to remember why I wrote that down, actually. Now, I guess if I'm really, really stuck, I could just put the early Ragged Crossroads in, but I'm reluctant to do so. Okay, so pentaments and precursors. Where did I want to put Edict's Liminal? That strikes me as one that would go to Nyctodromy, right? Yes. I don't have any notes on that, but I seem to recall that's one that I usually put in that slot. There were a few that I jotted down which are just too low. Yeah, so for instance, Serpents and Venoms was in there, but... okay, we'll jump over that one. But that does answer whether or not it's the same challenges each time, because clearly we have not had 3 Shapt in the past. Invite a challenge. Alright, so metal. That's going to be a fun one. So I really am going to consult my spreadsheet for this, because the one thing that I did as part of that spreadsheet was I did put down the trade-offs. So Horamachistry or Illuminate. Ooh, Illumination's going to be a challenge. So I'd need something at level 3 for Illumination, I think. Funnily enough, though... oh, nuts. Okay, so if I had a 2 and a 3 for Birdsong, I might be able to make this work. So let's not rule this out quite yet. Okay, so I could employ Rhyme and Remembrance into Birdsong. But then the question would be, what's the 3 that I put into Birdsong? And really the only option there is Snow Stories. So what was it that stopped me from putting Snow? Because I remember there was one version where I wanted to put all the stories in Birdsong. And then I decided no. And I think that was because... Hushery. Yes, no. Snow Stories has to go into Hushery. Yes, I made a very specific note on that. Okay. So again, I'm not closed off to adding things to the Tree of Wisdoms, but in this case, this does not support my long-term plans. I want to see how the Salon goes before I commit any more elements of the soul, but I think we can at least put 1 into the Sweet Bones before the evening's done. Alright, a lively meal concludes. My guests leave happy. You get an additional potent memory. Now, I do want to... I basically want to use the... I want to go to the Sweet Bones pretty quickly. So let's take a minute and think of the lessons that I'm getting. So I've got Quenchings and Quellings, which seems to me like we do not... oh, we've got one here. Okay, we'll use that to level it up. So that will need Oh, that'll be a good one, actually, because we can use the satisfaction that we get. So that will need either a heart or a winter. So that one we're definitely leveling up. Lockworks and Clockworks. Now that needs a knock and a sky. Now, interestingly enough there, I can use the occult scrap for that one. Okay, so maybe we leave the... we'll put the Faust aside for that one. Preliminal meter. Now, I don't think we have that yet. Okay, so I'll count that one as getting that for free. And then surgeries and exsanguinations. Okay, another example of us using a knock and a heart. And the only real problem with that one is we don't really have the memory. But I can generate one. So I'm going to use the Arab with instruments of the heart. Okay. So I think the whist is safe to employ... No, hang on. Okay, so quenchings and quellings, we use the whist. Lockworks and Clockworks, we use the Faust. Surgeries and exsanguinations, we use the heart. And unfortunately, I can't employ the Tryst at Crowcross Sands because I don't have 90 seconds, but we can try and do something. I can, at the very least, I can try and use these to... Oh, what can I do? I can try and generate a memory, but we don't need any more memories. I can use them to... I think I probably just want to use them to make stuff. So let's find some low-cost, mothy things that I can... Oh, I have an obvious one. Get going on my Catwink. All right. So let's start with Moth. Okay. I'm not going to say no to Tanglebrag, but I feel like we should have slightly higher ambitions. I keep forgetting this is the dispensary, so I can't add the shears, but I could add a mothy flower or substance. Really love the Tanglebrag. Huh. Interesting. Oh yes, of course. Transformations and Liberations is a bit of a special one. Okay, so that didn't exactly set me on fire. So we will draw our attention to Moon. So I think probably the... Now there are some interesting Moon possibilities here. But if I do the Wormwood Dream, it's the same argument as the... Crowcross Sands. I use up too much time. So, as an alternative, we already have the Old Wound, so that's not very helpful. I mean, I could make the Libidic Tincture, but why? So, Desires and Dissolutions, if I can find an extra Grail, I can turn that into a Witching to Sane. I wouldn't say no to that. That we can actually do with the Spice Scales. With snow stories, okay, not too excited by a midnight mark. Pearl and Tide. Okay, Eigengrau is kind of helpful. The question is, where do I get the 2 moon from? I feel the Whispering Sand might be able to help with that, actually. Interesting. Okay, so if I use Pearl and Tide... Yeah, I think the problem here is I just can't mix it with anything useful. And I don't think the Forge lets me do anything with that, but this is one of these cases where I think I just need to think... I think I just need to apply a little bit more... Basically, I need to stop thinking purely along the lines of the stuff that I normally do, because I definitely have a couple of mental grooves that I sort of run through when thinking about this game. So the Barber's Chair is mothy. The Harp won't let me... Yeah, the Harp doesn't really get me the things that I need. We are definitely short on moon interactions. Okay, that's going to be something I need to keep in mind. So with that in mind, I guess any moon 3s would be a candidate. Wait, why didn't I like... Snow Stories again? Right, because it gave me a midnight mark. Yeah, okay. So let's think about how we get an Eigengrau. Probably a glass of water in this case. Do I want to give it up in this instance? Because I don't really... It's kind of trading one beverage for another. It is admittedly alcoholic, but... Remains might be interesting, actually, so I don't know if I... I feel the Urn of Ashes, that's a little disrespectful to the urn, and I don't think there's any moon for the animal bones. Curious. So the last outside option I have is Pearl and Tide, but yeah, then I can't really do anything with the Tryst. You know, the other thing I can do, as dumb as this is, so I think if I take the Shrine to the Madrigad and I take the Bells and Braziers, so I can make Bitter Black Salt. The thing is like, again, okay, great, Bitter Black Salts. I'm so glad I made these. So what am I, like, what use is it? Probably, yeah, the Wistful Air. I mean, Wistful Air has its use, but not its immediate use for me. I'm sorry, I'm taking so long on what to do with my last 2 items. Okay. I added the Stone Stories and the Tryst. Alright, now that's very helpful to know. That doesn't immediately help me right here. But I'm actually rather glad to know that I can get that. And if I add the Essential Periost... Now that's interesting. So if I can somehow chuck a nectar of some kind... That was wishful thinking. That does give me something interesting. Okay, I think I've got a pretty clear idea. So one thing I want to do is use Desires and Dissolutions to make a Witching Tisane. Sorry, we do that at Ava's desk. Oh, I used up Ava's desk. Curses. Okay, so Westcott doesn't help me. Well, one, he doesn't have Grail. I think it's Nona's Desk is the only other one that gives me the... Shoot. I really think I've actually got myself into a corner here because I don't see how any of these are going to help. Yeah, so I can use the Alchemist Glassware, but then I don't have a place for the Tryst. I really need a... Oh, that's so frustrating. Yeah, oh. But then I can't use the tool. Yeah, okay. Let's just toss these into any old thing. We'll make a Tangle Brag. Use it as a punishment for spending so much time on this. All right. Our penance. Surely I had. There we go. Craft a token to invite the attention of a moth name. I think we could do the same thing. Oh, no, we can't because... Oh, yes, we can. I just need to use the right thing. Actually, if I can find a fancy way of getting 2 heart into this, I can make the Pribiot, but the True Blood of St. Januarius. It feels like this should be something I can do with the extras. No, you know, there's no reason to get clever about this, so cheers. 2 Tangle Brag to play with. All right, so we are waiting on the lessons. Okay, Night has fallen, dawn will come soon. So I think whatever element of the soul, yeah, I think we're probably going to lose at least 1 overnight, but still worth it. We will keep the Wild Surmise. Okay, so we've got Quenchings and Quellings, Preliminal Meter, Lockworks and Clockworks, Surgeries and Exsanguinations. We've got a Lively Salon, Satisfaction. Oh, and another Curious Hunch. Okay, so there is an order in which I want to do this because, like, if I can avoid giving up the Occult Scrap, that's better, obviously. So for a start, let's go with the Quenchings and Quellings. We'll make that a level 2. Whatever we don't get to, like, we've got plenty of time. There's not like a major rush to get all this stuff done. But the appeal of trying to get this done now is that I'm just able to take advantage of all of the memories that otherwise would have been wasted. So there's always more to learn. Improve the skill to level 2. This will increase its aspects, which will help with crafting and make it suitable for the higher branches of the Tree of Wisdoms. So we're working on another heart, so I think that would be for surgeries and exsanguinations. It's actually already in position. But not ready in time. So instead, I will employ... so I will have to wind up using the Occult Scrap, it turns out. I may lose the Fost for tomorrow, but there we go. There's always more to learn. So in this case, I'll take the opportunity to add Hokabald to the book. For what you might call an occult correspondence. Okay. The Instruments of the Heart. Sister Isabel, then precentress of the Abbey Church of St. Brendan's, engages in dialogues with a heart-long of a kind called Duendrazon that has taken partial possession of her body. The Duendrazon, like all its kind, usually dwells in the Mansis, but can enter the physical world by manifesting as music and take possession of a willing or semi-willing mortal who hears and loves that music, like Isabella. Isabella records her dreams of the High Mansis, where she is accorded the Duendrazon status and titles. In return, the Duendrazon enjoys what it calls Sejura, a welcome oblivion. Our mostly blessing is that we may never cease, except in Sejura. There is something more that Isabella refers to as the Sejura Magna, but she laments that her Duendrazon will not tell her exactly what that might be. So this is only useful if I'm able to level up surgeries and exsanguinations before the day is done. But still, I think it was worth taking the shot. Tanglebrag, a clot of wood, leaves, and feathers that might draw the attention of the entity called Knowing Not. So I think we're going to have to keep these in the Alopolis Nook, as reluctant as I am to use that as a storage place. Set it down softly, or it might roll away, even uphill. So these aren't completely useless, right? They're scale, nectar, moth, and lantern, and they're a material, so you can use them in some types of crafting. I just haven't run into a situation where I need them. Okay. As they used to say in my youth, the day is done and so am I, but I've earned my pay. This is going to be very, very sad. No! Alright. I think I might try and get the Fost back with the water. Alright, the skill is now level 2. Its power aspects have also increased. So, there's a couple of really straightforward things that I can do, and that would be to bring in the heart memory to begin with. And then Preliminal Meter is actually one that I can get for free, so we'll use this right away. Acquire Preliminal Meter, use this to acquire a new skill. So after the Salon, we are up one more on surgeries and exsanguinations. What I think the next few moves are going to be, I should take some time to work out the skills that I want to level up in terms of my current access. So first of all, there are some books that I have easier access to now between things like the Mazarine Fife, or through getting access to something like the Fost Element of the Soul. There's a number of different options that I have there, and that's independent of whatever the weather brings or something along those lines. On top of that, I have a little bit more willingness to start committing certain certain skills to the Tree of Wisdoms, just because of either the curses that I know that I need to deal with, or what certain lessons are going to get me access to. Now, again, this doesn't. I am a little reluctant to do something like, say, okay, I'll find every knock that I can get. So like Cardia's Delights as an example, and say, we'll use that to level up Horns and Ivories so that we can get that to like level 2 or 3 or something like that. That one actually is a really good example where I'd want that so that I can get the... oh no, we already have Great Science and Great Scars. But yeah, so those sorts of things I'm reluctant to mix and match the different lessons until I have a little bit of a clearer path. But at least for the ones where I sort of know, okay, we've already committed resurgences and emergences, there isn't quite the same value in pushing that up the chain. I can redeploy those towards Grail and Moth skills. So with that in mind, right, Great Signs and Great Scars would be an option there, and just try where I can, just try and get us to that point where if we need to put something into, say, preservation again, we're at least positioned to be able to do that. But of course, all of that will be happening in future episodes. So thank you very much for watching this extended one. There should be one more for the week. So I'll see you tomorrow. Until then, take care.